रामानुजदयापात्रं ज्ञानवैराग्यभूषणं श्रीमद्वेङ्कटनाथार्यं वन्दे वेदान्तदेशिकं लक्ष्मीनाथसमारम्भां नाथयामुनमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां यो नित्यमच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये। माता पिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वयभट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखरयोगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम्। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत्। व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारं शक्तेः पौत्रम् अकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकतातं तपोनिधिं। व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखादमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवत रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिकाः भुवि भावुकाः। अचतुर्वदनोर्ब्रह्मा द्विबाहुरपरो हरिः अफाललोचनः बादरायणः। सान्द्रानन्दावबोधात्मकमनुपमिदं कालदेशावधिभ्यां निर्मुक्तं नित्यमुक्तं निगमशतसहस्रेण निर्भास्यमानम् अस्पष्टं दृष्टमात्रे पुनः उरुपुरुषार्थात्मकं ब्रह्मतत्त्वं तत्तावत् भाति साक्षात् गुरुपवनपुरे। हन्तभाग्यं जनानाम् अग्रे पश्यामि तेजो निबिडतरकला यावली लोभनीयं पीयूषप्लावितोऽहं तदनु तदुतरे दिव्यकैशोरवेशं तारुण्यारम्भरम्यं परमसुखरसास्वाद रोमाञ्चिताङ्गैः आवीतं नारदाद्यै विलसदुपनिषत्सुन्दरी मण्डलैश्च बाहुद्वन्द्वेन रत्नोज्ज्वलवलयभृता शोणपाणिप्रवालैनोपाता वेणुनाळी प्रसृतनखमयूकाङ्गुलीं सङ्गशारां कृत्वा वक्त्रारविन्दे सुमधुरविकसदरागम् उद्भाव्यमानैः शब्दब्रह्मामृतैः त्वं शिशिरितभुवनैः सिञ्च मे कर्णवीथीं योगीन्द्राणां त्वदङ्गेष्वधिकसुमधुरं मुक्तिभाजां निवासो भक्तानां कामवर्षद्युतरुकिसलयं नाथ ते पादमूलम् नित्यं चित्तस्थितं मे पवनपुरपते कृष्णा। कारुण्यसिन्धो कृष्णा कारुण्यसिन्धो कृत्वा निशेषतापान् प्रतिशतु परमानन्दसन्दोह लक्ष्मी अज्ञात्वा ते महत्वं यदिह निगदितं विश्वनाथ क्षमेतः स्तोत्रं चैतत् सहस्रोत्तरमधिकतरं त्वत्प्रसादाय भूयात् द्वेधा नारायणीयं श्रुतिषु च जनुषस्तुत्यता वर्णनेन स्फीतं लीलावतारैरिदमिह कुरुताम् आयुरारोग्य सौख्यं जानकीकान्तस्मरणं गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं. With the abundant grace of Paramatma, I'm extremely fortunate and honored to be speaking for a series of 7 days, a Saptaham, on one of the most revered, well-known and well-researched scripture in Sanatana Dharma, which is Srimad Bhagavatha Mahapuranam. Beginning today, supposedly a weekday, you have made it strong with your presence. So this shall go on till the Sunday. Saturday and Sunday alone, we won't be following the evening timings. I'm sure all of you are abreast with the timings mentioned in the poster. So we shall be culminating this series with Rukmini Kalyanam. There is a paddhati of Srimad Bhagavatha Saptaham. Interestingly, of the various regions in Bharata Desham that has promoted Srimad Bhagavatha Mahapuranam, Kerala as a state has a special honor of having many Bhagavata Satram. Satram is a yagam. So it is believed that listening itself is akin to performing a yagam. It's called a Shravana Yajnam. So if somebody asks you at the end of this series, what did you do? You can confidently say that you have performed a yajnam. Yajnam doesn't have to just be with fuel and ghee and bricks. Your ears turn into the Vedika. The shlokas that you listen become the havis. The jnanam that arises at the end of it becomes the purnahuti and the phalam. So Shravana Yajnam is what this is referred to as. And this set of 7 days generally is accompanied with Parayanam too, where there is recitation of all the 12 cantos, skandams of Srimad Bhagavatam. But given the work commitments that you all have, the organizers have, we have only the Upanyasam now, the Pravachanam now. And how many of you speak Tamil? I'm not talking about, How many of you speak Telugu? How many of you speak Kannada? Malayalam? Okay, now I have to go beyond the boundary. Marathi? Gujarati? Hindi? Okay, I'm not talking about how many of you can speak Hindi. How many of you's mother tongue is Hindi? நம்ம ஊர்ல பிரவேசிகா பண்ணவெல்லாம் கை தூக்கிடுவா. So now we have so many languages. Now which is the link language? We have bequeathed 2 acharyas in our parampara. One is Rennacharya and the second is Martinacharya. So we carry the tradition of Sri Ren and Sri Martin. So English is the link language. Given the beauty of the language and given the deficiency that I may possess in the language, there are certain places, occasions where I may have to literally think in my mother tongue and then translate in English. It wouldn't make any sense for a person who's born English, those statements. So they may deem it redundant. However redundant it could be christened, I would still love to keep those sentences as is. So with such disclaimers around, Srimad Bhagavatam has a paddhati of beginning with a portion called Mahatmyam. What is the importance associated with doing a satram such as this? So I'm going to do a bit of akramam here. Kramam is procedure. Akramam is going slightly beyond the procedure. But that's used in a very different context today. So if someone is horrendous, someone is very atrocious in their habits, and somebody's demeanor that causes some big damage to the society is called akramam today. So I'm not going to that construed meaning. Akramam here means I'm not following the procedure. No kramam. We need to connect Sri Mahabharatam and Bhagavatam. Sri Mahabharatam is an itihasam because it was written during the times of Pandavas. It was written during that period. Whereas Bhagavatam comes slightly later. How slightly later? Not very later, just slightly later. For this, I need to talk about two places connected with history, archaeology, and then go back to Bhagavatam. Today, if you go check which is the world's largest Hindu temple, you may stumble upon two names. One is Sri Rangam, a temple for Sri Ranganatha Swami in the hamlet, in the island, in the fresh waters of Kaveri near Trishiragiri or Tiruchirappalli. This is largely believed to be the world's largest functioning Hindu temple. The non-functioning Hindu temple is Angkor Wat, built in the 13th century during the Khmer dynasty by Suryavarman II. But the inscriptions of that temple state, the name given to the temple was Parama Vishnu Loka. This is the name given in the inscription to the temple. It's called Parama Vishnu Loka. And that temple, the central part of the temple is an Ashtanga Vimana. Those of you who are abreast with such terms from architecture would know that the central part of the temple will have three tiers. So you have the Mula Murti in the ground floor, in the first and in the second, but in different postures. One is standing, one is reclining, one is sitting. So this three-leveled temple, tiered temple of the central portion is called Ashtanga Vimana. And this was constructed in the 13th century. Now, considering that this temple is for Vishnu, it's a Ashtanga Vimana, we need to understand who the Vishnu is. He is an Ashtabhuja. He has got 8 hands. Of course, with Buddhism that kind of flourished later after Khmer dynasty, the strong Buddha devotees chopped the head of Vishnu, placed a Thai massage Buddha's head there. But essentially it is a Vishnu temple with 8 hands. So we have Ashtabhuja and Ashtanga Vimana. So where did Suryavarman II get the inspiration from? He got the inspiration from a temple in Kanchipuram. So I told you I'll talk about 2 temples. So one is Kanchipuram, and the second is a place that forms a part of the golden triangle of the Chalukyan architecture in the north part of Karnataka called Aihole. So this Aihole temple of Durga was around the 6th century during the reign of a king called Pulakeshin. Why these 2 temples are very important? Because all of you noting down, I'll ask you questions. So, this Aihole has an inscription of the king where the king states, after so many years of the Mahabharata war, is this happening? So, from that, we get a proper inscriptional evidence when the Mahabharata war took place, which is 3102 BCE. Roughly 300-400 years before the Indus Valley civilization. So this is when Mahabharata war took place, and that year is when the inscription states Kali Yuga began. That is why if you look at the Panchangam, it will tell 5,000 plus years of Kali Yuga, because we calculate from the 3102 BC. So that temple inscription is very important to get the dating of Mahabharata Yuddham. One temple. Second, I spoke about Kanchi. Kanchipuram, two things compete with each other: number of silk sari shops and the number of temples. So if at all you manage you're extremely blessed to visit the temples, you should be visiting a temple which comes under the purview of the Archaeological Survey of India. It was constructed around the 7th and the first half of the 8th century. It is called Parameshwara Vinnagaram. This temple finds a mention in Tirumangayalvar's works. Now you may be wondering, sir, if you give information like this, how will we remember? You should write down. Always you should carry a book, pen, hand, everything with you. There is a difference between listening to a Nama Sankirtanam, a Carnatic Kacheri, and an Upanyasam. So you should always note it down. But if you trust your memory extremely well, please don't write. I'm sure you'll be able to remember. Now this Tirumangayalvar sang 10 plus verses on this temple, and he mentions about the king who constructed the temple. This temple is very unique. You have to visit this temple. Today it is called Vaikuntha Perumal Temple. Alvar calls it Parameshwara Vinnagaram. If you go to this temple and do a pradakshinam around the Sannadhi, on the walls you will find the depiction of the entire Pallava dynasty. So this is the only temple in the world where the depiction of one dynasty is completely given. So if you see the first panel, you will see a measuring vessel and a child next to it. There was a great historian a woman historian in the first half of the 20th century, Meenakshi, who has studied this temple so well. You'll get a book about this temple, beautiful book. If you're all interested in history and architecture, please do read that book. So you have a measuring vessel and a child next to it. So this is iconography. What does it mean? The measuring vessel is called Dronam. And the depiction of the child means the child had an association with the measuring vessel. In our clinical language, we call it Petri dish, which is in vitro. So this child came from the Dronam. So this boy was called Drona. In the next panel, you see another child. Next to the child, you see a horse. So this child, while he was born, his crying was akin to the neighing of a horse. So he was Ashwathama. Then you have the depiction of the kings later. So Pallavas were the descendants of Ashwathama. So I spoke about two temples. One, architecture of the world's largest non-functioning temple of Angkor Wat called Paramavishnu Loka of the Khmer dynasty of the 13th century, being inspired from this temple, and this temple has Ashwathama in it. Why is Ashwathama important? That is where Bhagavatam begins. Mahabharata, if you read, even as a piece of literary work, devotion comes next. You will be amazed at the characters which Vyasa has given to us. So that is why Vyasa is deemed as somebody so divine. There is a shlokam that talks about the greatness of Vyasa, because people who were amazed at the creation of Brahma thought he should be Brahma. People who were enamored by Narayana's activities thought he is Vishnu. People who were followers of Lord Shiva thought him to be Mahadeva. But he had none of the attributes what these Trimurtis have. Trimurtis, Brahma has 4 heads, Shiva has 3 eyes, Vishnu has 4 hands. So how do we define Vyasa came a $1 million question. To which the Karta says, he is Brahma. Undoubtedly he is Brahma because he has managed to create some of the best works in Sanatana Dharma. but he is Brahma minus 3 heads. A Chaturvadanor Brahma. He is also Hari because he is able to sustain the knowledge that he has produced through these scriptures. So he is Hari, but he is Hari minus the 2 hands. Dvibahur aparo Harihi. He knows how to bring an end to the cycle, the vicious cycle of the sins committed. So he is Rudra Murti in a way, but he is Rudra minus 1 eye. Achatur Vadanor Brahma. Dvibahur aparo harihi, aphala lochana shambhuhu, Bhagavan Badarayanaha. So Vyasa has given one of the best works. And Mahabharata has not exactly 125,000, but it is generally called Sapada Laksha Grantham, along with an appendix portion called Harivamsham. And it has got 18 parvas in it. During the Yuddham, there was a lot of politics in Mahabharata Yuddham. Given that Krishna was on the side of Pandavas, you can just expect more thrill. Krishna did not want Arjuna to, Duryodhana to give a very important position to Ashwathama. Because Ashwathama was a nepotism kid. Why? Because Drona, if I get into Mahabharatam, I won't be able to get into Bhagavatam, but I'll still give a brief. Dronacharya was the son of a rishi called Bharadwaja. He had a vairi, some altercation with the king of Panchala called Drupada. And his motive was only to avenge the humiliation that was meted to him. So he was waiting for an opportunity where he could have a coalition with somebody as strong as Bhishma. He tried to impress upon the children of Pandu and Dhritarashtra and was recommended by the children. They get good reviews about him. And they took him to the presence of Dhritarashtra and Bhishma. And Bhishma said, you should be the teacher of all possible vidyas to the children of Kuruvamsha, to the sons of Dhritarashtra, the Dhartarashtras, and the sons of Pandu called as Pandavas. And it was an exclusive deal signed with him that he will not teach any other prince. That is when Drona said, I will do whatever you say, but give exception only to my son. Ashwathama alone shall read under my instructions. So that was fine. He just had one son, contrary to the production value of those days. So Ashwathama was accepted into the fold. But in Adi Parva of Sri Mahabharatam, Vyasa vividly describes what kind of partiality the teacher cum father showed towards his son. So he would ask the Kuru princes to go fetch water in a ghatam. That ghatam of all the Kuru princes would be long and narrow enough so that the water takes little time to displace the air within and then get inside. So it would take roughly about 10 minutes to fill that ghatam. I'm just giving you an example. Whereas he would give a different jar to his son, which was broad in its opening, so that the water could be fetched much faster. And the son could come, would this take about 3 minutes, 4 minutes to fill the pot, and he would come, and in that gap of 6 minutes, he would teach extra portions to his son. This is there in Adi Parva, you can fact check me. So he could teach extra portions to his son. But the beauty was, when his son would come running with the filled jar, Arjuna would also come at the same time. So this teacher wondered, how did this Arjuna alone have this? So Arjuna said, I read through Google. He said, I used Varunastram to fill the water in the jug and I didn't go to the lake at all. So I came. So Drona knew in a way that even without partiality, a boy can survive all tests that I can give, and he got extremely attached to Arjuna. There was no way that Arjuna could outsmart Ashwathama, but Ashwathama was taught a set of special astrams by his father, which Krishna knew was taught to him. Now, don't ask how Krishna knew. Somewhere he read some magazine or something. Now, Krishna did not want Duryodhana to accord proper status to Ashwathama, because then the war will get even tougher. So before the war could begin in Udyoga Parva, Krishna one day comes to Hastinapuram, and on his way back he asks Ashwathama, Ashwathama, have you performed your Sandhya Vandanam? Ashwathama said, yes, it's time, I have to come. No, let's both together go and perform. And he took. Krishna knew very well that while he was taking Ashwathama, Shakuni and Duryodhana were seeing them. So Krishna wanted Duryodhana to see this scene. So as Krishna was bending down to take the jug, his ring fell. And Ashwathama said, Krishna, here is your ring. The moment from a distance Duryodhana saw this, he construed that he is submitting himself and his honesty to Krishna. Krishna wanted this notion to come in Duryodhana. Thereby, despite knowing that Ashwathama knew some special astrams, Duryodhana was very doubtful of making Ashwathama the commander-in-chief. So it was given to Bhishma. And Krishna managed the situation in such a way that when Bhishma was fighting as a commander-in-chief, Karna will not enter the battlefield. So it was a lot of strategy there. Now, as Bhishma started failing, when he was put into the bed of arrows, Sharatalpa Gato Bhishmaha, that is when Drona became the commander-in-chief. Now, Ashwathama became the man in waiting. He never had the opportunity to become a commander-in-chief. Now, Drona became the commander-in-chief. Now, after Drona, if at all there was one portion quite adept enough, it was Ashwathama. But Karna was made the commander-in-chief because Bhishma had gone to the bed of arrows. Now, after Karna, he waited for his turn. No, Shalya became the commander-in-chief. Nakula and Sahadeva's uncle. After that, the Yuddham was close to over. The only three people left on the Kauravas side was Kritavarma, Kripa and Ashwathama. That is when, while Duryodhana was extremely wounded, Yada mridhe kaurava srijyayana vireshvatho viragatim gateshu vrukodarat viddha gadabhimarshad bhagnorudande dhritarashtraputre. Bhagna Uru Dande. Uru, his thigh was hurt. He fell. Uru Dande, thereby even his spine had broken. Uru Dande, Dhritarashtra Putre, while Duryodhana was lying by the banks of a lake. That is when Kritavarma, Ashwathama and Kripacharya go. Ashwathama and Kripacharya were related. Ashwathama's mother was Kripi. Kripi's brother was Kripa. So they all went and submitted themselves to Duryodhana. And Duryodhana said, now what do we do? We have lost the battle. This man has lost. But Ashwathama still had the ambition of becoming a commander-in-chief. There were only three people. I don't know how many of you follow Indian politics. In some of the political parties, there will be one MP. He is the party leader, he is the MP. They'll give press statements. Our party leader said, who's the party leader? He is the party leader. So, Ashwathama wanted to become the commander-in-chief. He asked Duryodhana, can I become? Duryodhana said, okay, you become. But Ashwathama did not know what to do next. Nobody on his side. Generally you say, come on, attack. There should be somebody to attack. So he went and sat below the shade of a banyan tree, Nyagrodha Vriksha. It was around the evening time, it turned night. That is when he noticed a pack of crows that were seated on the branches of the Nyagrodha tree were attacked by a very ferocious owl. The moment he knew that the owl had attacked the birds, the crows, and they were consuming its flesh, he got an idea. Owls generally have better eyesight during the night. So he thought, why shouldn't I attack the Pandavas in the night? He got the idea. This comes in Ashwathama Parva. You have got after Shalya Parva. This is an important portion. Not exactly Ashwathama, it's called Sauttantika Parva. They were all sleeping. So this Ashwathama goes. But he is not able to win over the soldiers also. That is when he prays to Mahadeva, Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva says, okay, I'll give you a few weapons. It is very tough to win the side which is blessed by Krishna, but I will give you that weapon. He goes first into the tent of Drishtadhyumna. Drishtadhyumna was the brother to Draupadi, son of Drupada. He was the one who massacred Ashwathama's father, Drona. So, while he was about to kill, Drishtadhyumna got up and said, see, now I am sleeping. You can still kill me, but use a weapon. Because it was a belief amongst the Kshatriyas that if you are killed by a weapon, you will go to heaven. But Ashwathama said, why should I fulfill your last wish? I will use my hands, and he strangled him to death. Now Drishtadhyumna died, and while he walked out, one soldier said the five are sleeping peacefully. So this Ashwathama thought the five are the Pandavas. And as he shot arrows at the five men who were sleeping, the next day morning he read Times of Hastinapura. Those were the five sons born to Draupadi through the Pancha Pandavas who were dead. Bhartu priyam drauniriti sma pashyan Krishna sutanam swapatam shiramsi. Krishna sutanam, Krishna is Draupadi. Krishna sutanam, the five sons of Draupadi were killed. Swapatam shiramsi upaharad vipriyam evatasya jugupsitam karma vigarhayanti. He killed all five of them. Draupadi was very upset. Now Ashwathama goes in the early hours of morning to the banks of the lake and he informs Duryodhana, I have killed the five sons of Draupadi while they were sleeping. He is very proud. But his act was so disgusting that Jugupsitam karma vigarhayanti, even Duryodhana said, you shouldn't have done that. Now his desire to become commander-in-chief came very late and no appreciation from the boss. Now Draupadi was extremely upset. See, Draupadi's life, if we look into, people generally ask, what is the relevance of Mahabharata today? Draupadi, those of you who know Mahabharatam, did not have a childhood at all. She was born as a result of her father's vengeance. Drupada wanted to avenge the humiliation meted to him by Drona. So he reaches two rishis called Yaja and Upayaja. One says, I cannot perform yagas for such motives. The other one said, if you pay me, I will do. So Dwapara Yugam is very close to Kali Yugam in its time period. So he said, whatever motive you have, I will do. So this rishi performed Putra Kameshti. And a medical concoction was placed to be consumed by the wife so that eventually she gets pregnant. But she refused to come to the Yajnashala. She was busy. So Drupada, he puts this concoction into the fire. Something that generally is not explainable through logic, but it happens in Mahabharatam where first Drishtadhyumna appears. He comes with all dressed, fully dressed from fire. You don't have to buy clothes also for him. Fully dressed he comes and he is the answer to his vengeance, which means Drishtadhyumna will be the one who shall annihilate Drona in a war. Deal done. All the priests, they started leaving. They got Dakshina and they said Namaskaram and they were leaving. But the fire had not yet got extinguished. Another lady emerged out of it. Kumari chapi panchali vedi madhya samuthita shubhaga darshaniyangi vedi madhya manorama. She was very beautiful to look at. Extremely dark. Vedi madhya samuthita shubhaga darshaniyangi. Extremely beautiful. Shyama padma palashakshi. Shyama. Extremely dark. Very pretty. Her eyes were as if the petals of a newly blossomed lotus is plucked and placed here. Large eyes, she came. But he said, see, this byproduct I didn't expect at all. Why? Because while putting the Purna Ahuti, the person who performed said, whatever is your manoratham shall get accomplished. While Drona had dispatched his Sishya Arjuna to win over Drupada, Drupada was amazed at Arjuna's valor. So he thought at the bottom of his heart, if at all I have a daughter, this man should be my son-in-law. So Draupadi came. But one thing good for Drupada was, she emerged while she had just completed her adolescence. So finding preschool, LKG, magnet school, whether to write SAT, which is the top university, whether to teach music, dance, whether they will drop after Arangetram. All these doubts were not there. She had emerged as a full-fledged individual. So in 2 days, he arranged the Swayamvaram. Just one day she was happy. From the day of her Swayamvaram, kings who were interested in her, they were not able to lift the bow. Those who were victorious in the bow battle, she was not interested in marrying. The one who emerged victorious finally, whom she married, after she goes there, the mother says you have to share. Then using certain article 54F and 44B, Yudhishthira explains, okay, it is fine to marry one woman marrying 5 men, because we have had Jatila and Padmalochana in those days who married 10 and 7 husbands. This is only 5. So we can adjust. So they all married. After she married, Karna and Duryodhana had an eye for her beauty as well as wanted to humiliate her. The beauty is, we are told a lot of things which are not there in Mahabharatam. While Duryodhana walked in that palace of Indraprastha, he mistook the floor, the pond, to be a floor, and he fell. Correct? You have seen this? Rupa Ganguly used to laugh. Correct? So then Draupadi laughs and Duryodhana feels humiliated, and he thus calls them for gambling. This is what we are told. But if you read Mahabharatam, there is no verse while he falls that Draupadi was laughing. There is no verse. Later he goes to Hastinapuram, and he would have never imagined, even in the wildest of his dreams, that such a beautiful mansion could be constructed, and he wants it all for himself. So he goes and elucidates to his father in such a fashion so that his father himself would coax him to bring them for a gambling. That is when he says, Drupadanandini laughed at me. He creates a scam. Only if he tells like this, the father will call them. So from then on, she was humiliated. Then she was taken to the forest. There she was kidnapped by her husband's brother-in-law, Jayadratha. Lot of events in Draupadi's life were not happy at all. So what is the relevance of Mahabharatam? Even if you're the one emerged from the fire, you're the friend of Lord Krishna, you still have to suffer and bear your karma. Now, Mata Shishunam Nidhanam Sutanam Nishamya Ghoram Paritapyamana. The moment she saw her 5 children lying dead, Tadarushadvapa Kalakulakshi Tam Santvayannaha Kiritamali. Seeing her in that state, having lost her 5 sons, how difficult it is for a mother to see her own child die. 5 of them in one night. So, That time, looking at her state, Kirita Mali. Arjuna, she had a very valorous husbands. Each one will promise. So Arjuna said, don't worry, I shall bring to book that person who has committed such a disgusting crime. Tada shuchaste pramrjami bhadre yad brahma bandhoho. Brahma bandhoho. Brahma here stands for Brahmana. Bandhu means? Bandhu means? Chapandi. Friend. Maitri bhavam kada. So friendship. But Brahma bandhu means enemy of Brahmanas. See, when you bring two words in Sanskritam, it necessarily doesn't have to mean the joining of the two meanings. Brahmana bandhu separately means Brahmana friend. Brahma bandhu means enemy of Brahmanas. So Arjuna went behind Brahma bandhu. Yad Brahma bandho shira atatayinaha Gandiva muktair vishikhair upahare tvakramya yatsnasi dhagdaputra. Then Arjuna says, don't worry, I will bring that person and I will wipe your tears, and he goes. Mahabharata Yuddham is over, but still look at the miseries that they are facing. Iti priyam valgu vichitra jalpaihi sasantva yitva mitra sutaha. Krishna said, Arjuna, wherever you go, I'll come. See, Arjuna was very lucky. Krishna said, I will also follow. When my friend Draupadi is suffering, I won't let you like that, Arjuna. I will also come. Anvadravamshita ugradhanva kapidhvajo guruputram rathena. They started following Ashwathama. Now it was very easy to guess who could have done this, because there are only 3 people left on the other side. So even answer by rejection method. Generally we do that in multiple choice questions. It was easy to do. Tamapatantam sa vilaksha durat kumara. It is very important that we understand how ancient education system worked. Logic and logical reasoning was extremely important and integral to ancient education system. If you go to Srimad Ramayanam, Hanuman is not a sajatiya vastu. First of all, he is a vanara jati. First of all, when you are from a different species, kingdom, phylum, family, you may not share the same feelings. That is why we say dogs are more faithful. Right? We may not share attributes. Here, vanara jati Hanuman, who did not even know what is teamwork, because he was only student in his school under Surya Deva. No teamwork, group discussion, nothing he has done. And he has not seen Narajati. And he had vowed not to marry. So he has never seen a woman, leave alone Narajati, even Vanarajati. The only 2 women whom he has seen is Vali Patni Tara and Sugriva Patni Ruma. And he has a very bad opinion about them. One brother kidnapped the other person's wife. So he said, he said, my decision to not marry is QED. So when all this was there, suddenly he's given one assignment. You have to go in search of a Narajati man's wife. Who is this lady? He has never seen. Why she is kidnapped, he doesn't know. But suddenly one task is given, go fetch Sita. One profile photo is also not shown. So how will he know this is only Sita? That is why when you read Sundarakandam, those of you who read will know, first when he went to Sri Lanka, Lankapuri, he mistook Ravana Patni to be Sita. What is Ravana Patni? Mandodari, not Mandodari. Mandodari, Manda Udaram. She had very thin hip and a very limited stomach. Manda Udaram, Mandodari. So he mistakes Mandodari to be Sita and then Aspotayama sa chuchumba pucham nananda chikrida jagau jagama stambana roham nipapata bhumau nidarshayam swam prakritim kapinam. Then he says, no, Rama's wife will not be so happily sleeping next to Ravana. There'll be some disgust. So he goes in search and finally lands up in Ashokavanam and sees one lady. Ekastha hridayanunam ramevanu pashyati. She looks supposedly at a direction where Rama is. She has got tears rolling down her cheeks. This could be Sita. Then he concludes this could be Sita on a few more reasons. The same sari which was torn by Sita to cover the ornaments to be thrown at the monkeys in Kishkinta was the same sari left in her body. So, and those ornaments which were thrown by her were not found on her. That's very important, right? Nobody will be having they'll be wearing two sets of earrings. One I will take, the other one will remain here. You cannot do that until unless you use VFX. So as she has thrown those jewelry, those were not found on her body. Same sari. Tarkayamasa Siteti is Vakyam in Sundarakandam. Using logic, he concludes this is Sita. Similarly, if Drishtadyumna is killed, Kripacharya and Kritavarma may not have so much of vengeance against him as much as Ashwathama would have. So Krishna concludes it's Ashwathama. He says, Arjuna, follow Ashwathama. Tamapatantam sa vilakshya durat kumara hod vidagda manarathena paradravat prana paripsuvaryam yavad gamam rudrabhayad yathakaha. There are two. Those of you who read Bhagavatam, there are two versions to it, says the commentator. Yatha kaha, yathar kaha. Yatha kaha means like Brahma. Kaha means Brahma. Sanskritam kaha means Brahma. Like Brahma. Yathar kaha. Yatha arkaha. Arkaha is Surya, like sun. So here if you add, the chandas doesn't change, but the meaning changes. Like Brahma, like Surya. There is a explanation to it. I'm not getting into it because I have to finish a lot of portions today. I'm like those teachers in the schools before quarterly exams. If they have not completed, they will borrow periods from other teachers and they will complete. Now I'm in that state. So then as soon as they spot Ashwathama and Arjuna holds him, Krishna tells, kill him now. You kill him. We have killed so many people. This is just going to be one more murder. Kill. That is when Vethedam Drona Putrasya Brahmastram Pradarshitam. Kill him. But Arjuna says, no sir, I won't kill. It is not right. He felt it's not right to kill. So he said, let's see what he does. Now this Ashwathama, the moment he was shown mercy by Arjuna, he goes closer to Vyasacharya's ashramam and puts an astram called Brahmashiras. It was an astram called Brahmashiras. There was another astram called Brahmastram. Brahmastram is like surf. Brahmashiras is like super surf. So surf excel. So this Brahmashiras was the astram taught to Ashwathama by his father, not taught to Arjuna. But it will have a lot of intersection. A intersection B will be there between Brahmastram and Brahmashiras. So Krishna then tells, see, he has aimed Brahmashiras. You put Brahmastram. Arjuna says, see, he is causing one destruction. Why should I do? No, don't worry. When these two meet, no destruction much will happen. Just do it. Now Arjuna says, what is the use of me doing? Because if you aim the Brahmastram, Vyasacharya will come and say, don't fight. Two countries cannot fight. Fuel prices are rising. Don't fight. He'll come and say, and then he'll say, retract your weapons. What will happen then, Krishna? That is when Krishna says, you know how to retract your Brahmastram. He doesn't know how to retract Brahmashiras. How do you know that, Krishna? Don't ask how media knows. I am media. I know he doesn't know how to retract. Vethedam drona putrasya brahmastram pradarshitam naivasau veda samharam pranabadha upasthite shrutva bhagavata proktam phalguna paraviraha sprishtva pastam parikramya brahmastram sandadhe. See, you will know the greatness of a character in those days if they are addressed by various names. Dhritarashtra is always called Dhritarashtra only. There is no other name. Of course, in those of you who know the Tamil Pasurams will know, for Thiruvallikeni, how many of you are from Triplicane? So, in one of the Pasurams by Tirumangayalvar, he says, Andagan Siruvan. Andhakan is the name given to Dhritarashtra. Andhakan, one who can't see. So, greatness of a character is known by the names. In fact, fans of Mahabharatam will know, towards the end of the year of incognito, Ajnatavasam, called Virata Parva, when Gograhana Kalam happens, and Kauravas were fighting, Dhritarashtra Putras were fighting with the son of Matsyadesha Raja called Uttarakumara, the Sarathi was Brihannala. So, as the time comes, when Arjuna is noting down the time, because the 13th year has to end, the moment he sees that has ended, he says, Uttarakumara, take me to the Shmashana Bhumi, graveyard. How can I take you to the graveyard? If somebody kills us, then we will go to graveyard. No, you take me to the graveyard, and then he removes a dead body from the Shami tree, and those were the weapons of the Pandavas. The moment he sees one unique bow, Uttarakumara asks, what is this? Arjuna says, this is Gandivam. Why are you having Gandivam? You are a Bharatanatyam dance teacher from Kalakshetra. See, I am associating Kalakshetra now with Mahabharatam. Take that Gandivam. He said, no, this is my bow. How is it your bow? It's Arjuna's bow. I am Arjuna. Then Uttarakumara asks, now you tell me the 10 names of Arjuna. To Arjuna. And Arjuna starts telling Kiriti Mali, I am Phalguna, Savyasachi. Savyasachi means ambidextrous. One who can shoot through both the arrows. In Bengal, Va becomes Ba. That is why it is Sabyasachi. He stitches, right? Maybe he is stitching from both hands. Phalgunavi paraviraha sprishtva pastam parikramya brahmam brahmastram sandadhe. You shoot this arrow. Then Arjuna shot. Tata asadya tarasa darunam gautami sutam babandha marshatam rakshaha pashum rashnaya yatha. Then Vyasacharya came and said, sir, if both of you are fighting like this, what to do? Retract your weapons. That is when, as usual, Ashwathama did not know, and Krishna said, no, my friend Arjuna will do for him also. Arjun, action king, do it. And he did. So, as soon as Arjuna did that, Ashwathama was pulled in front of Draupadi. Now, Draupadi saw Ashwathama being pulled through ropes. Tatha khritam pashuvat pasha baddham avangmukam karma jugupsitena niriksha krishna apakritam guru sutam vamasvabhava kripaya nanamacha. This Draupadi said, you should not insult your Guru Putra like this. Release him from the ropes. That is the greatness of Draupadi. See, Mahabharata Draupadi is ferocious. Bhagavatam Draupadi is very nice. Why? Because age will always bring maturity in a person. Supposed to bring maturity in a person. Let's keep it that way. See, while the humiliation happened in the Sabha, that is when you have that Shapatham. I will keep my hair open, and if I have to tie it back, I have to drench it in the blood of Dushasana's chest. See, when there is rib cage, very little blood will be there. But it has to be torn open. From that, I will drench my hair and then tie it back, make it a bun. So, Veni means plating. Veni Samharam is a beautiful drama that you should all read if you are all students of Sanskritam. By Bhattanarayana, there is a natakam called Veni Samharam. So Draupadi was that ferocious, but now see age. She has lost her 5 sons. She says, yet we need to respect your Guru Putra, release him. One side Draupadi says, release him. But Bhima comes and says, kill him first. Now Arjuna is caught. What to do? That is when Krishna says, if you take the shikha from the Brahmana, he ceases to be a Brahmana. So he will die. So take off the shikha. And the crest jewel that was taken. Now this is where it doesn't stop. What this Ashwathama does is, after being humiliated again, he has got another astram called Apandaveyastram. He says, if I have not been able to kill the Pandavas and I have just killed the sons of the Pandavas, I will go one PD, one generation more, and kill the fetus that is developing in the womb of Uttara, who is Abhimanyu Patni. You know, this Uttara Kumara I just spoke 7 minutes back. This Uttara Kumara has a sister called Uttara. So this Uttara was a dance student of Brihannala. So the moment the king realizes that the teacher was Arjuna, he says, marry my daughter. Arjuna says, this is wrong. See, the teacher starts marrying the student, then no parent will have the courage to send the children to school. So I will get this daughter of yours married to my son Abhimanyu, who is growing up in Dwaraka. Khemcho Majama. I'll bring him here and he will marry. Now this Abhimanyu was killed in Chakravyuham. Before Abhimanyu could leave to the battle, a few months before, she showed the strip and there were lines, she was pregnant. So this lady was the only one, because everybody else had died. Draupadi's sons had died. The son born to Hidimba called Ghatotkacha died. Nobody was left. Krishna's sons died. Duryodhana's son died. So the only person who they could keep their confidence on was the child who is to be born. So this man programmed the astram. Draunyasya viplushtamidam madangam santana bijam kuru pandavanam jugopa kukshim gatiyatta chakraha matuschameya sharanam gatayaha. So that is when the Apandaveyastra Prayogam happened. Ashwathama, after being humiliated, he programmed the astram saying that it should go and destroy the fetus within the amniotic sac of Uttara. As this astram was aimed, Uttara started experiencing excruciating pain in her womb. The only refuge for them was Krishna. So she comes running. Pahi pahi mahayogin deva deva jagatpate nanyam tvad abhayam pashye yatra mrityuhu parasparam abhidravati mamisha sharastapnosya vibho kamam dahatu mam natha mame garbho nipatyatam. Please protect us. Along with Uttara came Uttara's mother-in-law. Who is Uttara's mother-in-law? Wrong answer, stand up on the bench. Subhadra. Who is Subhadra's co-wife? Draupadi. Who is their mother-in-law? Kunti. All of them were living. See? Kunti, her daughters-in-law, Subhadra and Draupadi, and Subhadra's daughter-in-law, Uttara, they all come one, like wholesale, and they come and do Sharanagati at the feet of Krishna. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namah Pankajanabhaya Namah Pankajamaline Namah Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangraye. Please protect us. You have been protecting us for long. Help us now. That is when the Apandaveyastra Prayogam happened, and that had tortured the fetus within Uttara's womb. Bhagavatam says, Angushtamatra Purushaha. The Lord went into the womb and started going around the child. Now the child started getting worried. See, this is the only place where there is no encroachment. Suddenly, who is going around me? And the child started looking left, right and around. Ikshate means to see. Pari means around. Pari Ikshate, the child was called Parikshit. So he started looking around. Now, as he started looking around, Lord went. That is when later Parikshit asks, this shloka comes later. Draunyasya viplushtamidam madangam draunyasya. Draunyastram. Drauni means the son of Drona. Drona putraha Droni is Ashwathama. Draunyastra viplushta midam madangam santana bijam kuru pandavanam jugopa kukshim gati atta chakraha. Parikshit asks, how did Krishna come and protect me while I was in my mother's womb with his chakram? See, the problem is, as such, she was suffering because of the astram causing extreme heat. And Krishna goes with his chakram. That also causes heat. Correct. Sudarshanam Bhaskara Koti Tulyam. But remember, Sudarshana is generally called as the Lord's willpower. His divine will is called Saudarshanam in Agama Shastram. So, Sudarshana as per Agama Shastram, when you do Sankalpam, can also be as cooling as the moon. So, generally for fever, they will say Sudarshana Ashtakam. 103 fever. Why should I say Sudarshana Ashtakam? Because he can cool you also. Moon can give you scorching rays. See, in love, in separation, it is called Vipralamba Shrungaram. When they are separated, the man and the woman, and they experience the nectarine rays of the moon falling on them, they still feel the heat. In Ashtapadi it comes, Nindati Chandanam Indu Kirana Manu Vindati Khedam Adhiram. Radha says, see, I get the rays of the moon, but they are so scorching. So Sudarshana went and protected. Now the Lord went around the child. So the child was born. Bhagavatam gives one account that the child was born in a healthy manner. But Mahabharatam has a slightly different account. It says the child was born as immovable with no reaction, like a log of wood. Kashtapashana. That is when there was a Ashariri Vakyam which said that whoever is a Brahmachari and who has always spoken only the truth, if a person suffices these two conditions and touches the child shall get its life. The ethereal voice said. Every rishi went away. Because if they touch and the child doesn't survive, it will place a lot of questions on their character, their status and everything. So as they all left, the only person left in the room was Krishna. And both these conditions, he has to be a brahmachari, he should not have spoken any untruth. Uttara thought, but she didn't want to hurt him. See, if she doesn't give the child to Krishna, then Krishna will feel humiliated. So she said, Krishna, take this. Krishna took supposedly the child which was not moving at all, showing no signs of survival. There is a shlokam in Mahabharatam. Yedi me brahmacharyam syat satyam cham avyahatam yena jivatu balakaha. If I am a brahmachari, never have I ever. Who's that? Devi Vishwakumara? So, never have I ever I've never spoken the untruth, then let this child come. Yena jivatu balakaha. If I've spoken only the truth and I'm a brahmachari. Sir, how sir brahmachari? Because after marriage, if you follow the shastras and abstain from relationship with the partner on certain days mentioned as Punitam, then you still continue being a brahmachari despite being a grihastha, says Shastram. So he followed the Shastram and the child. So that time, Vyasa says this child was giving a test, examination to Krishna's virtues, Pariksha. So he was called Parikshit. That is another way to derive this name. So this child, Parikshit, was born. Now let's cut the story. Now Parikshit has grown. Old movies, they'll put one wheel. Now Parikshit has become a king. Now Parikshit, he goes on hunting. As he goes on hunting, I think in the US also certain states have license for hunting, right? So Parikshit got US license and went on hunting, because in India, one person went to Rajasthan for hunting. So being human, Parikshit, he took the license for hunting and went. He was very tired. Whether he hunted or not, he became very tired. You don't have to do anything to get tired. See, generally after 2 hours of lecture, you get up, you'll see the audience will be tired. So Parikshit, he got tired and he was very thirsty. He went to the ashramam, which was very close by, of a rishi called Shamika. Shamika was performing dhyanam. Dhyanam, he was performing meditation. What should you do for dhyanam? Close your eyes. So, interestingly, when Krishna talks about Ashtanga Yoga, he doesn't say close your eyes. If you close your eyes, that is not dhyanam as per Sanatana Dharma. You should keep your eyes partially open. It is one of the parts of Ashtanga Yoga. Yamam, Niyamam, Asanam, Pranayamam, Pratyaharam, Dharana, Dhyanam, Samadhi. So Dhyana is one of the angas to the Ashtanga Yoga. You have to keep your eyes partially closed. Like if at all the sun is rising in your city at 6 a.m., at 5:55, the lotus will be ready to blossom. So it wouldn't have blossomed and it wouldn't be closed. It would be in a semi-open state. Similarly, should your eyes be. And the eyes should focus to the tip of your nose. As per Dhyana Shastra, it should focus at the tip of your nose. Whether our nose is good or not. It could be like Garuda or it could be like a capsicum. We won't know. But you still have to focus to the end of your nose, and there you should see the image, the rupam of your deity whom you worship. Tatte pratyagra dhara dharalalita kala yavali kelikaram lavanya syaikasaram sukriti janadrisham purna punyavataram lakshmi nishankalila nilainamamrita sandhya sandohamanta sinchat sanchintakanam vapuranukalaye marutagara natha, says Bhattadri. So you should meditate on that. Now this rishi was performing proper dhyanam. When you are performing proper dhyanam, even if you burst a bomb, you should not be able to hear. So this rishi was performing dhyanam. Now Parikshit was very thirsty. He went and said, water please. This year you had good rains, right? Otherwise, whichever house have come in the past in California, above that wash basin, it will be written, save water, don't waste. So probably this man also did not have water in his ashramam. He did not open his eyes and he didn't offer. Parikshit was extremely upset. He was angry as well. He saw a dead snake lying there. With his arrow, he took the dead snake and placed it around the neck of this rishi. And he went away. This was the ways that he could vent his anger. He didn't get water at the end of the day. He went. Now, this act of Parikshit, the Raja, was noticed by Shamika, the Rishi's son's friend. So, this boy went and told the Rishi's son, see, you are doing all these karma, your father has been insulted. Immediately, Shamika took some waters and said that I pronounce a curse upon the king who has done such a disgusting act to die in a span on the 7th day from now with the bite of a snake with virulent poison called Takshaka. So this curse was pronounced and he comes. Then when he comes to his ashramam, his father says, now he woke up from his meditation. This man could have woken up few minutes before. Apapeshu swabhrityeshu. See, you are a Brahmana. You should not get angry. First of all, you say Manyur Akarishit. There is one mantra which everybody says before that idli. Kamo Karishit, Manyur Akarishit. If somebody asks who did this, we conveniently do this blame game. I did not do. Desire did. Anger did. Kamo akarishit, manyur akarishit. Manyu means anger. That is why in the first Anuvakam of Sri Rudram, Lord Shiva is very angry. So that is why we say, please reduce your anger, be our friend. After doing the Mangala Shlokam, Manyu is what the first mantram of Sri Rudram says. Because he is carrying bow. Yataishu Shivatama Shivam Babhuvate Dhanuhu Shiva Sharavya Tavataya no Rudramridaya. Then we say, get soft, Rudra, be my friend. So bring your anger down. So the father says, why should you get angry? Don't do this. Apapeshu svabhrityeshu balanam apakva buddhina papam kritam tad bhagavan sarvatma kshantum arhati tiraskrita vipralabdha shapta kshipta hata api nasya tat pratikurvanti tad bhaktaha prabhavopihi. You may be wondering, sir, when you speak in English, it is so nice. Why do you have to quote the Samskrita shlokas? That is our paddhati. If you listen to these shlokas only, there is punya. My narration, no use. Now, this curse pronounced upon Parikshit reaches the ears of Parikshit. Media was very active those days. Media said, our king will die in 7 days. After reading that article only, Parikshit knew that he will die. Then he asked, well, how will I die? Takshaka, that snake will kill you. So Parikshit now imagine, we are told in 7 days you're going to die. Put this curse on yourself. Now imagine, what will we do? 7 days is only left. Whether we have to come to Bhagavatam. What we have to cook, lasagna. Whether to look at Yogambal Sundar. What menu to cook. So many things. Now what he does? He goes and sits by the banks of river Ganga. Prayopavesham. He doesn't eat. Fast until death. Not even having a glass of Mossambi juice behind the screen. Our leaders generally have. Now as he sits, one young boy walks into the arena. Very handsome. He can participate in this congeniality contest, Mr. World. Tam dvayashtavarsha sukumara pada karoru bakhvasa kapola patram. Handsome face, beautiful countenance that is just emitting sheer radiance and effulgence. Charvayatakshoonna satulya karna subruvananam kambu sujata kantam. Beautiful neck. See, if you look at our Shastras, the way they describe, they will give importance to every bhagam for neck. Shankhu karnam, kambu grivam, these are all words. When Shurpanaka describes Sita to Ravana, she says kambu grivam, her neck. You can see it distinctively because for thin people, you can see the neck, hip, everything distinctly. As the quantity increases in the intake, slowly this upper torso and the head will get attached. Kambugrivam. When Bhattadri describes Krishna, he says, Unmila dantapankti spuratarunatara chaya bimbadarantaha. I see 2 rows of teeth that can easily win over the glitter of the constellation of stars. Unmila dantapanktihi. Look at the way the teeth are placed. I've read somewhere, one person went with his friend to a party. He was having food, the buffet system. The plate will weigh 1 kg, food is half a kg. So like, Govardhana Giridhara. He's eating. Now as he and his friend were eating, a lady opposite them was constantly looking at his friend. And she smiled and he too. And as he smiled, she smiled even further. And she came closer to this man. And this man was, of course, on cloud 9. And even if there's a better cloud than that. So he told his friend, see, she's looking at me. She's impressed with me. And then this lady comes and says, come and meet me. He was all the more impressed. So he said, why should I meet you? Am I that handsome? No, I'm a dentist. Your teeth needs correction. While you smiled, I saw this. Come. Unmeeladanta pankti spuratarunatara chaya bimbadarantaha. So, Shukab Brahmam, this boy who came into the arena who was so handsome was Shukab Brahmam. Now you should ask a question. See, Parikshit was a normal king. There were other kings as well. It is just not this Vamsham. There were. Now, if a person has to die in 7 days, will Shukab Brahmam come on his own? What was so special about Parikshit that Shukab Brahmam came? Question, is the question correct? Let me give the answer later. Question is correct? This is where we need to understand the process of naming people in those days. At least during the Puranic days, I'm telling. So people with a great insight and people who could see the future very vividly would come and name the child. They will know what the child will be based on the placement of grahas. Jyotishya Shastram was true, is still true but if you do it in a very, very scholastic way, reading 4 books and coming and telling predictions every day, because in Jyotishya Shastram you can never tell predictions every day. That is the beauty. Every day, what will happen, that you can't do in Jyotishya Shastram, but they do. Now if I tell this, somebody will cut this small viral clip. And every astrologer will abuse me on the mail. So, let them live happily. Now, when Rama was born, Swocha Samstheshu Panchasu, 5 grahas were in the exalted state. Panchauche Lokanayakaha, if you have got 5 grahas in the exalted state, you become a world leader, says Jyotishya Shastra. 5, you will be recognized by the world. Panchauche Lokanayakaha, Panchauche. And Vagpata Vinduna Saha, in one of the houses, I think in the 12th house, Rama's horoscope, there is Brihaspati, Guru and Chandra. You know Chandra and Brihaspati's rumor, right? See, this Brihaspati's son born through his wife was not of his. It was through Chandra. So Chandra and Brihaspati's wife's son was Buddha. So both of them in the same house in the Jatakam, you know what problems will come. So, in Rama's Jatakam, you had this. In that case, in Jyotishya Shastram, there is a small nuance that you check what is the graha next to that house. Vakpata Vinduna Saha, next what is there? It leads to a dosham called Kemadruma Yogam. If there is Kemadruma Yogam, there are chances for permanent separation in the couple. So that is when Dasharatha gets a lot perturbed looking at the Jatakam. But there was a small escape from the Kemadruma Yogam because there was somebody in the second position, if I'm right, of Rama's Jatakam. That is why, though he didn't have a permanent separation, there was on and off separation from Sita. Now, let's get back to this. Now, people would always christen a child based on Jyotishya Shastra, looking at the child and what is going to happen in future. So, the one who named Parikshit's mother was a mother now. Uttara, all of you are attentive, very good. Now, Uttara, Ut means higher. Ut Purushaha, Uttara Purushaha, Purushottamaha. This is how we derive. Ut means higher. Uttara means the one who is to be venerated, worshipped. What was so special? Because, see, we have had a slew of acharyas. For example, we have had Adi Shankara Bhagavatpada. His mother was a great lady called Aryamba. Aryamba bore Adi Shankara. Great. See, when you have a son like this, the parents get the respect. So, Aryamba is to be venerated because she had a great Bhagavatottama as her son. Kantimati. She was the mother of Bhagavad Ramanuja, to be venerated. She gave one of the best intellects and reformers of the world. She is to be venerated. Totaramma. she was the mother of Vedanta Deshika. What a prodigy she produced. So you have mothers of such great Acharya Varyas. They all gave birth to Bhagavatottamas. On the other hand, we have had Kaushalya. She gave birth to the Lord himself. ஒருபகல் உலகெல்லாம் உதரத்துள் பொதிந்து அருமறைக்கு அருமவனை அஞ்சன கருமுகில் கொழுந்து எழில் காட்டும் சோதியை திருவுரப் பயர்ந்தனள் திறம்கொள் கோசலை சேஸ்த தமிழ் poet கம்பன். ततश्च द्वादशे मासे चैत्रे नावमिके तिथौ नक्षत्रे अदिति दैवत्ये स्वोच्च संस्थेषु पंचसु. Kaushalya is to be venerated. In Krishna Avataram, Devaki, she bore the Lord. So on one side you have Adi Shankara, Ramanuja, Deshika, Madhva and so many acharyas and their mothers for having given birth to intellectuals and Bhagavatottamas, the best amongst devotees such as them. On the other hand, you have the list of Kaushalya, Devaki and many others who gave birth to the Lord, Bhagavan himself. But Uttara was the only one, at one point in time, she had Bhagavan and Bhagavata in her womb. She had both Parikshit and Krishna in her womb. See, generally, a child who has come out of the mother's womb can never get back into the mother's womb. See, after 5 years, the child says, I want to get back into your uterus. How will you get? But Krishna had that unique opportunity. After having come from Devaki's womb with Angushtamatra Purushaha, he gets into the womb of another mother. So in a way, Uttara also birthed Krishna. So at one point in time, Uttara was carrying both Bhagavan and Bhagavatottama. That is why the person who would have named her knew the future and called her the venerated one, Uttara. This Uttara's son is Parikshit. So, if he is a Bhagavatottama, he has to listen to Bhagavatam. So, Shuka Brahman came on his own. He knew what the future is and he came to the presence of Parikshit. That is when Parikshit asks two questions. I keep telling this in many of my lectures. We as a civilization largely have believed in the art and the science of questioning. We are not, as a civilization, against questioning. So, he asked questions. Two questions he asks. Yat shrotam avyamatho japyam yat kartavyam nibhiprabho smartavyam bhajaniyam va bruhi yadva viparyayam ataf pritchami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum Purushasyeha yat karyam mriyamanasya sarvatha. What should one person be doing to get peaceful death? He asks, because he is asked, from his perspective, he is asking, Ataf pritchami samsiddhim. What should be the memory lying in the person while the Jivatma has to exit the body? Now we are fine. When the Jivatma has to exit, what should he do? That is when Shuka Brahman answers those questions. First you have to answer. Tasmad bharata sarvatma bhagavan ishvaro harihi shrotavyaha kirtitavyascha smartavyeschata bhayam. You can get rid of the fear of death when you keep listening to the pastimes of Hari. This is what it is said. How should one listen? Like the devotees of Bay Area. See, you have all promised 7 days you are going to come. No? I'll send notice. See, if you cross the rules here, you get the ticket, right? Everybody will get a ticket if that you have not come to the lecture. So every day you have to come. Smartavyo Bhagav. You have been mentioned in Bhagavatam. Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Harihi. Yetavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam Swadharma Parinishtaya Janmalabhav Parav Pumsam Ante Narayana Smritihi. Thinking of the Lord and having a peaceful death won't come suddenly. Be the way you want. Finally on the deathbed, vitals are being checked. whether the pressure is right or not, whether or every report is then suddenly you cannot remember Hari. It has to come through practice. So if you keep listening, how should you listen? Only 7 days? No. You should listen to at least 2000 hours of Shravanam every year. Plan it out. When you drive, when you do your gym, when you lift those stones, when you cook, when you eat, you can still keep listening, even while you're about to sleep or for sleeping. Whether it serves you to sleep or whether you want to listen before sleeping, you can still keep listening. Many of them say, "Sir, such good sleep we get after your lecture." They have still used the word after, not during. Some of them, they wonder, see, after having spoken for so many years also, he comes closer to the mic and shouts in the middle, because I would have seen two people sleeping. So, the moment I do that, they will wake up. Then I will also go back. Smartavyo Bhagavan Harihi. So, these are the questions asked. Now, as this question is asked, I have to take you to one important place of Srimad Bhagavatam again. Now this Parikshit asks, Shuka Brahmam, can you tell how I was protected? See, first of all, my life history itself is very like a thriller. I have heard that I was protected by the Lord while I was in my mother's womb. Tell me about that, Krishna. This is the question. But when you do not know the exact answer for a question in an exam, you will write what you know. Okay. So, this very story which is told time and again, the boy prepared well about the cow. And finally he was asked, write about the coconut tree. He wrote everything about the cow and finally said this cow was tied to the coconut tree. Similarly, the question was, Draunasya Viplushtamidam Madangam, the one who protected me from Droni's Astram. This was the question. Now Shuka Brahmam said, wait. See, generally for a movie director, you have to keep that thrill till the end. Else people will not even buy popcorn. Before this interval itself, they'll go. So he starts telling how the world was created. Now Shuka Brahmam, Parikshit was wondering, what was my question? What is he answering? Because generally people who give discourses will do that. When you look to the poster, Bhagavatam, what is Bhagavatam? First day, Bhagavatha Mahatmyam, did he begin? Did he begin? You'll keep checking. I would have not begun. So, here, how was the world created? All that he says. In that process, he talks about Bhishma Acharya's what was his last minutes looking like. Bhishma Acharya, you all know, was Gangeya, Gangaputra. He is like Shanmukha. Gangaputra is also Shanmukha. Muruga is also regarded as a Gangeya. Kartikeya Gangeya Gauri Tanaya. So Bhishma was Ganga's son. But in those days, he had a unique boon. He will die only when he chooses to die. Thank God we don't have that boon. After 65, you get pension here, right, for citizens. This treasury will go bankrupt if people choose to live till when they want to live. So Bhishma Acharya was lying on the bed of arrows. Sharatalpa gato Bhishma. That is when they all go. Uddhava goes, Vidura goes, and they ask Bhishma, what is that sight that you loved the most in the battle? Mahabharata Yuddham. Is this a question? In the war you fought, sir, which was the most interesting scene? Bhishma answers, see, however atrocious the questions are in an interview, you have to still answer. Now, that is when Bhishma says, Tribhuvana Kamanam Tamala Varnam. Idhe ragama padithu. Tribhuvana kamanam tamalavernam ravikara gauravambaram dadhane Vapuralaka kula vritananabjam vijaya sakhe ratirastu mena vadya. I see the sight of a beautiful chariot. In the front are 4 horses of white color. Seated, standing as a Rathi behind is Arjuna. And before is Vijaya Sakha, the friend called Parthasarathi. That glimpse of how he stands and sits is the glimpse that I wish to see. Vijaya Sakhe ratirastu mena vadya Yudhitura gagajo dhruma vishwa kachalulita shrama varya lankritasye Mama nishita sharaira vidyamanatvachi vilasat kavachestu Krishna Atma. See what happened during the Yuddham. Arjuna on the day 1 asked, Krishna, keep the chariot in the middle. Ratham sthapaya achyuta. I want to see both sides from a equidistant angle. And then he said, these people are O positive, A positive, my blood relations. We are all relatives. So I cannot kill these people. Krishna said, see, they were your relatives even yesterday. But yesterday you pledged that you shall kill, and suddenly what has happened to you? Now Krishna starts giving one lecture. He is called for an upanyasam. And he talks about karma yogam, jnana yogam, bhakti yogam, sharanagati, 3 sthita prajna, 4 levels, aishwaryarti, bhagavallabharti. Arjuna forgot what question he asked. Whether I should fight them or not, this man is giving some other lecture out of syllabus. Then finally he said, no, I will fight. Maybe it was not even out of the knowledge he had garnered. So I will fight Krishna. And he started fighting. Now, Arjuna did not fight the battle seriously. First 8-9 days, slowly he will throw an arrow at Bhishma. Bhishma would catch. Krishna was thinking, see, I have left my work in Dwaraka. I have volunteered to be this man's Sarathi. He is taking undue advantage of my patience. Yudhitura gagajo vidhumra vishwa kachalulita shrama varya lankritasye. So what Bhishma did was, he wanted to slowly irritate Krishna. See, irritating people need not come from enemies. Even your lovable ones can irritate you. So he started throwing arrows at Krishna. So Krishna started getting hurt. That is why the Divyamangala Vigraham of Parthasarathi in Triplicane has those as to commemorate Krishna's sacrifices for Arjuna. Then finally, Krishna started sweating. See, Kurukshetra Bhumi, north of India, they are fighting during summer, no thandai near. Kaisa ho paega? So fully he was sweating. Krishna said, see, I am not worried about tanning because I am. But I am sweating and this man is not fighting the battle seriously. Mama nishita sharaira vidyamana. Now Bhishmacharya tells this while he is lying on the bed of arrows. Before me, because first he gave one zoom out sight. Now he has zoomed in and he is saying that Krishna had those scars from the arrows that I had aimed at him. After saying so, he says, you know, what is that one sight that I desire to see again and again? Swanigamama pahaya mat pratignyam ritam adhikartumava pluto rathastha. To keep up my promise even at the cost of going against the pledge he has made. Swanigamam apahaya mat pratignyam. See, again in Mahabharatam, before the Yuddham began, there has to be a press conference. Right, before the first day, first day eve, you need that press conference. They all went to Bhishmacharya. He was the Dumbledore of those days. So they went to Bhishma and they asked, Bhishma, what is your prediction? How many seats you will win? How many seats they will win? How many wickets will go? That is when Bhishmacharya said, I don't know who will win. But one thing for sure, I will surely make Krishna bite the dust. Thereby, Krishna shall be defeated. Press said, sir, he is not fighting. Because Krishna was not fighting because Krishna's sister's husband was Arjuna. Correct? Krishna's son was married to Duryodhana's daughter. You have heard of it? Duryodhana didn't tell you? Duryodhana and Krishna were sambandhis. Duryodhana had a daughter who was married to Krishna and Jambavati's son called Shambha. So they were sambandhis. So Krishna said, I will choose this position, I won't fight. And then added to that, Shakuni told Duryodhana to go and tell Krishna to promise that he will not use any weapon. And Krishna said, okay, I won't use weapon. Arjuna said, sir, if you are not using weapon, what is your work on the battlefield? I have gone to the battlefield. What will you do? I will not fight. What will you say? Your audience, is it? No, Krishna said, don't worry. You send your driver Suresh on casual leave for 18 days. I will become your Sarathi. So Krishna became the Sarathi. So Krishna had vowed that he will not use a weapon at all. And Bhishmacharya in the press conference says, I will make Krishna use a weapon. So this is one pledge, next pledge. So the reporters wrote, we don't know who will win, Bhishma or Krishna, question mark. Now on the 10th day, when Krishna saw Arjuna fighting like this, throwing one arrow, Bhishma catching, throwing it back like frisbee, Krishna thought this is not going to go. He jumped off his charioteer's position. He went running towards the chariot where Bhishma was standing, took the wheel that was fallen off a chariot, took that in his hand, Gati Atta Chakraha. He said, I don't need a Sudarshana, I will just use this fallen wheel of a chariot to vanquish this old man, overlived man in this battle. And as he runs towards Bhishma, Bhishma throws all his weapons. I was waiting for this moment, Krishna. When you will kill me, I don't want to die at the hand of all these people here. You should kill. Swanigamamapahaya mat pratigyam. Bhishmacharya now tells, see, what great that man was. Even at the cost of him breaking the pledge he had made, to make my vow come true, he came towards me. Mat pratigyam. Ritamadhikartum avapluto rathasthaha. As he jumped from his position, I saw his hair, the hair tresses. So that hair that jumped along with him. Neelabham kunchitagram ghanamamalataram samyatam charubhangya, said Bhattadri. The hair would be so effervescent, dark and shining and would be curly. Chikuram bahulam viralam brahmaram, says Leela Shuka of Krishna's hair. While describing Ranganatha of Srirangam, the polymath Vedanta Deshika says, Kupyacholi vachanakutilaihi kuntalaihi sishtamule. How curly are the hair tresses of Ranganatha of Srirangam? Vedanta Deshika has to give a simile because that's what a poet is meant for. You cannot just describe, sir, can he say he has nice hair? Then he won't be a poet. A poet has to give similes, upama. So how curly are the hair tresses of Ranganatha? Vedanta Deshika, see, those of you who know the Indian map, the South Indian map will know that Vedanta Deshika, who lived in the 13th century, belonged to a province of the Pallavas, in and around Kanchipuram. Later, due to some dire needs in Srirangam, which is Chola Desham, he had to rush from Kanchipuram to Chola Desham, which is Srirangam. So whenever you come as an immigrant, initially the existing population may be a bit doubtful about your demeanor, culture, whether the existing culture will be diluted. So the people of Srirangam took little time to get adjusted to Vedanta Deshika, and his wife. They had one son called Kumara Varada, and every day he would ask his wife, "How are the people here? How are the mommies treating you?" She used to say, "Fine, some problem." Then she used to say, "See, to understand what these women speak itself is taking little time for me. Because you have come to a Divya Desham, a different Desham, you won't know." So Vedanta Deshikas, how different are they? See, after they speak, after 10-15 minutes only, I'm able to understand what they actually mean. So then Vedanta Deshika, through his research, found out that this is the quality of people of Chola Desham. Srirangam, Kumbhakonam, you will take little time to understand the sarcasm in what they say. So you'll think. So Vedanta Deshika, then he too had a few personal experiences with the men and the women especially of Srirangam. So it may seem as if they're very soft, but later when you think, oh, actually, they have humiliated me, but they do it with such style and elegance. So Vedanta Deshika says, how curly are the tresses of Ranganatha? He says, Kupyat choli vachana kutilaihi kuntalaihi sishtamule. When you provoke the women of Srirangam or Kumbhakonam, not the men, the women, he says, Kupyat choli. When you provoke them and they hit you back with words, it will be so sarcastic and curly like the hair of Ranganatha. Kupyat choli vachana kutilaihi kuntalaihi sishtamule. With those hair tresses, Krishna jumped from the Ratham. Swanigamamapahaya mat pratignyamritamadhikartumavapluto rathasthaha dhritarata charanobhyayachaladgur haririva hantubhim gotariyaha uttariyaha. His upper cloth jumped. So Bhishma says, when he came rushing towards me, that one scene is enough. So this is called Bhishma Stuti. Those of you who have not read, please read. It's a beautiful ode of unadulterated devotion, bhakti, by a great Bhagavatottama called Bhishmacharya to Krishna. Now, on the other hand, Parikshit is asking questions. He will ask question every now and then. Now, I mentioned about one point, I think 22 or 23 minutes back, about this civilization encouraging the art of questioning. But I was very careful, largely I said, because in traditional families, questioning is not that welcome as well. Right? So, the scholars would always encourage, if you don't have answers, you will always threaten the person who's questioning. So, now, Shuka Brahmam started giving answers to Parikshit. That is when, see, there are a few chapters that I will come back tomorrow. Now, people will go and say, Pateda, idu clever. See, I will cover, because there is one thing called Nadula Konja Pakkam. What happened to you? Don't worry, I will come back. I have to cover certain portions. So, leave that to me. I will do it. There was this rishi called Kashyapa. Kashyapa Prajapati. It has to begin with some person. So here it is Kashyapa Prajapati. Let's begin with Kashmir, because Kashyapa Vihara iti Kashmira. Rajatarangini. There was a great grantham by Kalhana called Rajatarangini that also talks about it. Largely that portion around Ladakh, Kashmir, some portion with us, some portion with others, all others put together is Kashmiram, Kashyapa Vihara. The fruit that came from there is apple. That is why in the puja also they'll say, Kashmira phalam nivedayami. See, our knowledge in Sanskritam is so poor that even for mundane things that the priest will say, we will put our palms together. Kashmira phalam nivedayami. He will say, keep those two bricks there in Sanskritam. So, this Kashyapa had many wives. polygamist. Now don't ask me why I don't support polygamy, but that man did. He had many wives. That rishi had many wives. One of them, one set. Let's deal set by set. One set was Aditi and Diti. The other set was Vinata and Kadru. Vinata, you had snakes. Now, again, sir, how can human have snakes? Either those snakes which were around that region could have been adopted. See, now we adopt pets. Now, many of them will say this. We may, for a person who doesn't have pets, I may say it's a dog, but some of them don't like, it has a name. How will I know the name? Unless and until they tell me. So, call her Malligai Poo. Okay, Malligai Poo. So, how many children you go? You ask the people who own pets, who manage pets, they will tell. I have 3 children. No, sir, I thought 2. No, this is also my child. Correct. You adopt pets as your children, so probably you would have been attached to snakes. One. Second thing, like how we have Ministry of Highways, Waterways, in those days for reptiles, he would have been the caretaker. This is the way. See, rishis will always give assignment for us. You have to construe, because this is all poetry. Remember, in poetic meters, you'll have to strip that off of the extra figures of speech and take the material alone. If you literally take, see, Dushyanta, while he had a relationship with Shakuntala, she got pregnant. That is Gandharva Vivaham. But, in that middle we have heard he gave that ring. That ring went into the stomach of a fish. That fish was taken by the chef of that region. He cut it open. Then that ring while he gave, the fisherman took the Shyalaka, found it, and then he took. All this is there. But this is all Kalidasa's imagination. Kalidasa has picked from Adi Parva of Mahabharatam, because there is one portion where Dushyanta falls in love with Shakuntala. In the next scene, Vyasa says when Shakuntala went as a pregnant lady to the court of Dushyanta, Dushyanta says, I don't remember. So why he doesn't remember? He has created one nice fiction around it. Durvasa giving shapam, katham pramattaha prathamam kritamiva, like a drunkard who promises the previous night to do a list of things and the next morning has no memory of what he has said. He says, katham pramattaha prathamam kritamiva. Similarly, the man who you have been thinking will lose. Evlo complicated. She is in love with that man. So Durvasa says, the man who is in your memory, he will lose memory of you. So all this happens. Now let's come back to Mahabharatam. When she goes, it is said that for 3 years she has been pregnant. In Mahabharatam, there is a shlokam. 3 years she has been pregnant. Immediately, what is this, sir? Will Kamala Selvaraj agree? We know only 3 trimesters. This is 3 years. How is that possible? In the absence of any security for her future, for the child's future, in the absence of her beloved alongside, for her every set of 3 months would have been like a year. So that is 3 years. When Sita was separated from Rama on the 14th year in the exile, for her every minute was like a yuga. Panikala vari jampola niram kusi pagal boru yugamaga kalitale prayasi ninaitange ravanan annan vara chi nillada என்று ஏசி தனித்து தன் உயிர் தன்னை தான் விட மகராசி சாரும் போதே காணும் சமயமி தேவாசி இனி தாமதம் செயலாகாதென்றிடர் பேசி ராமா 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 என்றெதிர் பேசி கண்டேன் 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 சீதையை கண்டேன் ராகவா. So Shakuntala, that year, what I am telling you is, Puranas and Itihasas have to be studied with great science in your mind. Just like that reading translation, Kesar Ganguly has done, Bibek Debroy has done. Won't serve any purpose. Now, this children, snakes, coming back to the snakes, the first was Ananta. Ananta was the first child, snake. He later became the first servant to the Lord. So he was called Adi Shesha. The next was Karkotaka. That is why the dynasty around Kashmir in the 7th, 8th century was called Karkota dynasty. Another snake was Takshaka. That is why Takshaka Shila became Takshila. Ananta was the first snake. He was a Nagam. So Anant Nag. You have in that Kashmir, right? So all this is associated with Kashyapa. Kashyapa had Aditi and Diti also. Through Diti, he had children. That is what we are going to see. So these children lived around Kashmir. There is a place called Moolasthanam, Multan, it is called today, by the banks of river Chandrabhaga in Pakistan. This is the place where Narasimha Avataram occurred. No sir, Ahobila Ahobalam. Ahobilam or any kshetram of Narasimha was action replay. Later, the rishis would perform penance to the Lord and say that you have done Narasimha Avataram. I was not fortunate enough to see that. Please play that again for me. So there are recorded footages. So the Lord will retrieve that particular video file and play. And that is how Narasimha Avataram came into Ahobilam. But originally, it was in Pakistan. Diti Devi, she goes and tells her husband Kashyapa. Pashyakaha Kashyapo Bhavati, says Aruna Prashna. Pashya in Sanskritam means to see. Pashyaka means who has the ability to foresee. But if you derive a noun from a verb, the resultant word you have to reverse. So Pashyaka, reverse it, it will become Kashyapa. Pashyakaha Kashyapo Bhavati. Yeshamam. So the wife goes and says, for a very long time you have been meditating. I want children through you. Yeshamam Tvatkrite Vidwan Kamamatta Sharasanaha Dunoti Dinam Vikramya Rambhamiva Matangajaha. So Kashyapa said, your thought is good that we should have a family, but this is not the right time for us to come together. It is called Raudra Muhurtam. Around the evening time, when the sun sets, 45 minutes before and 45 minutes later, it is said that you should not eat. Before 45 minutes, before the sunset and after. So it is said that it will bring down your memory. Now don't ask me if there is a patent paper, research paper. If you eat and see, this is all I can say. Right? Then don't tell, then check what time you are eating. So these are all things that is mentioned. Now, how much of it is believable, how much of it is followable, how much of it is relatable to each his or her own. Now, he says at this point in time, Raudra Muhurtam, when Lord Shiva dances. See, generally it is believed in the Raudra Muhurtam, around the evening time, Shiva dances. He's a very good dancer. His wife is also a dancer. So as a dancer couple, they will dance. So when they dance, that Raudra Muhurtam, when Ganas are at play, that time it is better to avoid any activity. Now, no choice, we have to drive. Now don't, just because I have said, what So Kashyapa says, Navayam Prabhavastam Tvam Anukartum Griheshwari. If we get together now, later if children are born, they will not be as disciplined as the children who have come to Bhagavata Saptaham. Apyayusha vakatsyena yena ye chanye gunagrinnavaha. So what to do now? That is when she says it's okay if I have useless children. She is very clear. I need to have children, whether they are useless, anti-social, anti-national, doesn't matter. Athapi kamametam te prajatyai karavanyalam yathamam nati vochanti muhurtam pratipalaya. That is when he says, if this is the choice you have made, let's bear the brunt of it. But Diti says, see, now that have been impregnated, I request Rudramurti to not destroy it out of his anger. Mamme garbhamimam brahman bhutanam rishabho vadhit rudraha patirhi bhutanam yasya karavamamsyaham. Then Diti said, see, I didn't think, see, generally certain decisions are like this, where a few minutes after you have made that decision, you will repent. 6:45 you would have repented today. Right? Few minutes after you have come, we could have better been at home. Today we have come, all the 7 days we have to come. So, here, as soon as Diti understands the decision she has made, she goes and talks to her husband. Now, can you modify my children's behavior? Any possibility? We'll put them to some school and we will correct them. Whatever you do, their karma will be like this. But don't worry, Diti. Now you have asked for some atonement of your sins. I feel, he says, Savai Mahabhagavato Mahatma Mahanubhavo Mahatam Mahishtaha. Your grandson, the grandchild born to you, will be very, very disciplined. Son will not be like that. Pravriddha bhaktya hyanubhavita shaye niveshya vaikunthamam vihasyati. As a result, 2 children were born. The first child, while the father Kashyapa was performing Ashwamedham, says Nisimha Puranam, where the father was performing, 5 seats were kept for the yajnam to be performed. The 5th seat placed for an Ashwamedha yajnam is covered in gold and it is called Hiranyakashipu, that seat. So this child crawled and went and sat on that seat. So from that day onwards, the Rishi said, since he sat on Hiranyakashipu, he will be called Hiranyakashipu. Right? If you have acted in Jayam, you will become Jayam Ravi. If you have acted in Venniradai, you become Venniradai Murthy. If you have seen vendors selling brinjal on the road, you don't know their name. His name could be something we may not know. What will we call? Brinjal. Because he's selling brinjal, his name is Brinjal. He sat on Hiranyakashipu, so he became Hiranyakashipu. Hiranya means gold. Kashipu, the one whose body is akin to gold, which means he was yellow. We talk about yellow race, yellow, right? So yellow, he looked yellow. Now, as soon as both these children grew up, true to the prediction, they were not very helpful to the society. Now let's see who these 2 children were. Let's see, I'll finish it, don't worry. What is the prasadam today? Sollita kalambi poduvala. So, Sanat Kumaras, there were the 4 children of Brahma. They were called Manasa Putras, Sanatka, Sanantana, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara, Sananda. These 4 sons of Brahma, they were Urdhvaretas. They said, we will refrain from relationship with women. We don't want any family life. And those 4 children, because of their intense austerities, were given visa on arrival. They don't have to apply before. Wherever they go, they'll get entry. So they entered Vaikuntham. Manogyanaihi Manogya Naishraya Sakananadyair Anekavani Anekavapi Mani Mandiraischa Anopamam tam bhavato niketam munishwaraha prapuratita kakshyaha. So they entered Vaikuntham. They describe Vaikuntham in Bhagavatam. It is so beautiful, nice lake, nice trees and all of that. These people entered. As they entered through the western dwaram, Tadva manushya paramasya vikuntha bhartuhu kartum prakrishtamiha dhimahi mandadibhyam. As they entered, they were stopped by the watchmen from the western side. Western side dwara watchmen are called Jaya and Vijaya. Jaya and Vijaya stopped them. Sir, you can't get inside. Show your passport, all this. They said, sir, we are not given passport. Wherever we want, we can go. No, we have not come across those bylaws in the book that was given to us. There is an altercation between the Dwarapalakas and the Sanat Kumaras. That is why it is said. See, these are all things that we should know. Whenever we go somewhere, somebody asks us a question, we should have the patience to answer. I don't know about here. Generally in India they will ask, Mera baap kaun hai? Whoever be it, you have to answer. You should be very, very courteous to people who are doing some service. That is why, if you've heard of this very, very prodigial mystics poetess called Andal, while she reaches the house of Krishna in the 16th Pasuram, she seeks the permission of the Dwarapalakas. நாயகனாய் நின்ற நந்த கோபனுடைய கோயில் காப்பானே மணிக்கதவம் தாழ்த்திரவாய். Why don't you open? She requests. This arrogance will not work, will not take us anywhere. How is Puranam relatable? This is how it is relatable. There is this Geya Natakam called Prahlada Bhakti Vijayam. Telisa? All Carnatic, I was told there are many Sangeeta Kalanidhis here. Ellam paattu appadi Tyagarajarke doubt na ivagitta dhaan varuva. So, Tyagaraja Swami, how many of you are learning Carnatic music? Oh, very good. So, Tyagaraja Swami has given 2 Natakams. I will ask this question. Now you have raised your hand, you have to remember. Okay? One is called Prahlada Bhakti Vijayam. Second is Nauka Charitra. This Prahlada Bhakti Vijayam is about Prahlada's Bhakti. Prahlada, how he was tormented by his father. Finally, Prahlada's devotion bore fruit. It fructified when Stambhe Ghattayato, when the pillar was hit like a dicotyledon, it broke open, and who emerged out of the pillar? Correct? But in Tyagaraja Swami's Ramayanam, Rama came out of the pillar. Sir, how can Rama come? Because Tyagaraja, everything was Rama. Sarvam Ramamayam. Rama came with his bow and arrows and killed Hiranyakashipu. Now, when the father tortured his son Prahlada, Prahlada was thrown from the cliff into the Bay Area. Now, while Prahlada was to be protected, he was protected by the Dwarapalakas. So he was extremely happy. See, they have left their job. Now, who's guarding Vaikuntham? They left their job and came to protect him. So he said, I love Vasudeva and I love his Dwarapalakas. Vasudevayani veddalinali dauvari. Ee dauvari kunikanare. Dauvari kudu ante Dwarapalakudu. Vasudevayani veddalinali dauvari kunikanare. Vasavadi surapujitudai varijanayanu matini talachuchunu. But these people, they had an altercation with the Dwarapalakas. Immediately, Sanat Kumaras cursed the Dwarapalakas that you will be born as humans on earth. It was a big punishment in those days if you are born as humans. Immediately, Dwarapalaka started crying, where will we be born? Tadvama manushya paramasya vikuntha bartuhu kartum prakrishtamiha dhimahi mandadibhyam. You will be born on earth. They said, sir, please forgive us. We didn't know about this bylaws. For this you are given a curse. Then after that, slowly the Lord came from the inside apartment outside. He is like Indian police. After all things have happened, he'll come slowly. Tadetadajnaya bhavana vaptaha sahaiva lakshmya bahirambujaksha. Look at the style with which he is described. So one hand he had on Garuda, one on Mahalakshmi, and he's coming slowly with lotus. Khageshwaram sarpita charu bahu. Khageshwara on Garuda, on Lakshmi. Slowly he's coming. See, generally people will get perturbed. How dare you go? Generally when there is a clash between two cars, you will get out of the car, abuse the other person. Slowly he's coming. What happened? When did you all come? Meeku pootarekulu kavala? Telisa, Tamil people know about Putarekulu? You don't know? తెలియలేదా ఏమంటే ఇది Telugu people know. It is very important. See, Putarekulu is your means to Vaikuntham. If you do not know about it, it's a beautiful sweet in Andhra, made from starch. Kada? So they'll put starch, they'll put loads of ghee, and then jaggery, dry fruits, cover it, and you have to keep eating it till you see Vaikuntham. So here the Lord said, why, what happened? You had food? No, that time they said, sorry sir, these Dwarapalakas prevented, so we cursed them. Then the Lord asked calmly, what curse have you given? You'll be born on earth. Go. Dwarapalaka said, how can we get separated from you? They have said 7 janmas we have to be born. 7 janmas. The Lord said, I will amend this act. Samrambhayogena. You will be born for 3 janmas only. 7 discount for 3. But in those 3 janmas, you will continue to live and hate me. Where should we be born? In one of the Kalagams. Tadetadajnaya bhavanavaptaha sahaiva lakshmya bahirambujaksha. But don't worry, even if you choose to hate, your wife will go temple after temple. Khageshwarams. I meant here. I meant Kayadhu. Khageshwaram sarpitacharu bahur anandayanstan abhiramamurtya. So you will continue to hate me, and don't worry, you will then reach Vaikuntham. Now let's get back to Diti. Diti had those 2 Dwarapalakas as sons, Jaya and Vijaya. What are those people going to do? They said, we will do it only on the 18th of April. They have done too much today. So tomorrow I will tell you the portion. Let's see whether it is interesting. I have left a few things today from the first 2 skandhas, Brahmastuti, Bhagavatha Mahatmyam, all that will come tomorrow. Then Varahavataram. Varahavataram. You don't know Varahavataram? You know Rishabh Shetty? அப்படிதான் அவரால தான் வராகர். Varaharubam. Copyright problem. Then there is Varaha Charama Shlokam. Then Kapila Avataram will come. Daksha Yajnam. Dhruva Charitram. Pruthu Charitram. Jada Bharata Upakhyanam. For this you have to get some of your Jain friends. You know Jain? You have any Jain friends? Amit Shah. Jain avaru ottarda. So you can bring a few of your Jain friends, because in Jada Bharata Charitram, the first guru of Jaina Matam will come in Bhagavatam. I'll tell you how tomorrow. So all this will come tomorrow. I thought it will be interesting. You have to come. So okay. Now they have 2 things that I have to announce. Jnanananda Seva Samajam and Sacramento MahaPeriyavaa Mandali, out of sheer bhakti towards Sanatana Dharma, have made the entire series free and open to all. Now, they are supporting a beautiful Abhimana Sthalam called as Tennangur, closer to Chennai. Now there are Divyamangala Vigrahams of Vithala and Rakhumabai. And that temple has religiously been feeding people sans any discrimination for days, weeks and months together. And they also have a Goshala. So those of you who magnanimously wish to contribute may kindly get in touch with the Astikas of Samajam, and your donations will go for the Annadanam there. 1. Second thing, this week, throughout this week, tomorrow's day 2, Varahavataram, Kapilavataram, Kapilopadesham, Jadabharata Charitram, Prithu Charitram, Daksha Yajnam, all this will come. The day after tomorrow is equivalently very important because we will get Nrisimhavataram, little bit of Tripura Samharam, because in the Saptama Skandam we have Tripura Samharam. Then I may take Gajendra Moksham as well, if Gajendra allows. Then on day 4, there will be Vamanavataram, Matsyavataram, Kurmavataram, and Krishna Jananam. Then from day 5, day 6, it is all Krishna. So finally, only on day 4, at about 7:45, Shuka Brahmam will answer the question posed by Parikshit. Till then, it is all introduction. Okay, that interval happens there. And then day 6 and 7, which is Saturday and Sunday, the timings are changed. It will be in the morning. And day 7 is special because we will be doing Rukmini Kalyanam as well. There will be some amount of relevant bhajan, Sampradaya bhajan, and my discourse. Because we want to marry the Sangeeta Sampradayam, Bhakti Sampradayam, Bhajana Sampradayam with Upanyasam. But Rukmini Kalyanam will come on day 7. But if you look at Bhagavatam, it should come on day 5 itself. Day 6, 5 itself, it should come later. But why are you doing it later? Because all our Indian movies have to end with happy event. Right? The hero and the heroine should come together. Kabhi na juda honge hum, kabhi kushi, kabhi gam. We have to take one harati. Now that is why there's a paddhati in pravachanam where you cut that Rukmini Kalyanam and paste it, Control X, Control V. We do it to the last day. So this is the schedule. The language chosen for the discourses is primarily English. And of course I am quoting Tamil, Telugu, Kannada will also come. Kannadadವರು ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ? ಕೋಪಿಸ್ಕೊಳ್ತಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಏನು ಸರ್ ನೀವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾತಾಡಿಲ್ಲ, ಇರೋದು ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು, ഈ ಥರ ಮಾಡಿಬಿಟ್ರಲ್ವಾ? നാളെಯಿಂದ ಬರುತ್ತೆ ಕನ್ನಡ. അർത്ഥ ആയിട്ടാ? മലയാളിയാണോ ഇവിടെ? അത് വരും 7ാം നാൾ തൃപ്പൂണിത്തുറ ക്ഷേത്രത്തിൻ്റെ ഒരു കീർത്തനം. സോ ഇപ്പോൾ ഹിന്ദി കോച്ചുണ്ടുവാ, ഹിന്ദി தெரியாது പോടാ. I won't say like that. So Hindi will also come. So we are all, each language bhakti literature is so beautiful. You essentially don't need to know the language. How? Because the lyrics itself takes you to a trance. But I always encourage learning a new language. When you learn the language, when you know the meaning of the lyrics that you're singing, that gives you a different perspective. So I shall use whatever languages I have known, heard. So essentially it's in English. So the message I'm trying to say is, why in English? Because when we have to link such a huge diaspora that has been living here for decades together, and to your children, it is important that I choose a proper common link language. So if you know of people who speak Telugu language, please tell them it's not that boring, you can come. They may say, will he speak like Chaganti Garu, Samavedam Shanmukha Sharma, Garikapati, Alaga Matladtara? No, they are no match to me, they are all great. But I will speak in my own way. You can say that he will talk relevant and irrelevant stuff also. That is Dushyanth's hallmark. It is in Tamil, there is a beautiful word called Akkapor. I am Mr. Akkapor. So I don't mind being one. So you can bring them. It's a very casual lecture. You don't have to feel worried. What will he do? Nothing. And you can feel free to record also. If you have got a phone, audio record you want to do, please record. No copyright issue will come. Okay, you can record. And they are also recording. That will also come later. Then why should we come? No. Don't publish this. You have to come. Okay, so tomorrow, same time, 6:15, we will begin. Kavitarkika Simha. Nalik 6 or 6:15? 6 center. Abdina? Koncham. So, Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namaha Kalyana Rupaya Kalau Jananam Kalyana Dhatre Karuna Sudhabde Vatalaya-dhisha namo namaste Narayana 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 Narayana. Open your mouth. Anantaramakhya-mahi pranitam stotram pathetyastu narastrikalam Vatalayetascha kripa-phalena labheta sarvani cha mangalani Narayana Narayana Narayana.